So we are here this morning. We're going to have a PowerPoint presentation on the Detox program that we use at Cranleigh House, which is based on Richard Anderson's cleanse, which he calls the Arise and Shine cleanse, because he cured himself of a diagnosis, I would say, of terminal cancer. And he went walkabout with one of his friends in the wilds of America, and they took many different types of herbs, and he got himself back to a place of good health. Tremendous guy, and he's done a lot of research into herbal medicine, and he practices naturopathy. This is his story here, and this is what he discovered. This, what looks like a string of sausages here, is a string of stools. This is what came out of him when he was on walkabout taking these herbs, and he found that this particular blend of herbs had this incredibly curative effect. So I'll just explain to you that on the outside, the skin is what we call mucoid plaque, and it's mucus that the body excretes to protect itself from acidity mainly and toxins. So on the inside is the stool, so you can see this rather strange string of sausage-like shape, and he discovered this blend of herbs which could bring this out of the body. So we've got some wonderful herbs that we use. We use many things on this cleanse, so it's like a Rolls Royce of cleanses because there are so many aspects to it. We have two different herbal blends. One is his formula, pretty much his formula, which he called Chomper, which we call cleansing herbs or Chomper. And we have created our own blend from his base. So the cleansing herbs are plantain leaf, Cascara sagrada, which is a laxative, barberry bark, which is berberis, fantastic herb for cleansing the liver and the kidneys. Peppermint leaf, which you probably all heard of, which is this one here. You know, some of these you'll be quite familiar with. A lot of them are British herbs as well. Sheep sorrel, one of my favourites, looks a bit like spinach down at the bottom here and grows abundantly all around Combe Martin. In fact, many of these herbs grow right here, which is fabulous. So if all else fails, we'll be able to go out onto the hills and collect plantain and mint and raspberry, probably not raspberry leaf, although there are raspberry leaves actually on Exmoor. You do get wild raspberries, so we could get that as well. Other parts of this are myrrh gum, which is very cleansing, ginger root, which you probably recognise here, golden seal, which has actually been so much in demand that it became very rare, and the supplies for golden seal couldn't meet the demand, and the price went up hugely. So in this blend, I think half a kilo of golden seal powder cost me £120 plus VAT. So that's an expensive herb, whereas some of the other herbs are much cheaper and you can get them yourself off the hillsides. The other blend that we used is what Rich Anderson calls his nutritional herbs, herbal nutrition. And again, many of them will be familiar to you. Alfalfa, which is a North American clover-like herb, which they feed up the cows to make them like cows in clover. It's a building herb. It's great for adrenal fatigue, etc. Dandelion root, which is a great British favourite. Shave grass, which I'll show you in a minute. It's a bit like a dinosaur looking herb. It's called mare's tail. You may know it. It's a beautiful, rather Jurassic looking plant. chickweed, which usually grows right here. In fact, it is. It grows everywhere, chickweed. Yellow dock root, rosehip, hawthornberry, again, British antioxidant herbs and fruits. Licorice root, which is great for the adrenals, and kelp, which grows on the beach down here as well. So marshmallow, beautiful picture of marshmallow here. This is an interesting one because you know the marshmallows that we get now, which we stick on the end of a prong and put them in the fire, they actually have traditionally in herbal medicine, and still do, a very medicinal use. They're a demulcent, so they're a sweet herb which is used for soothing the digestive system. And we've turned this beautiful flower into a horrible pink, fluffy, sweet, full of sugar. It's interesting how that often turns around. Here we've got the alfalfa, which you can see is very similar to clover. It's got the 3 leaves. This is the chickweed. It's Stellaria. It's an amazing remedy for skin problems. It has many medicinal uses. You can see here used for rheumatism, cuts, wounds and itching. There are books with pages and pages of information about these herbs. This is just like a little taster for you. The beautiful hawthornberry, the beautiful cleavers. This is the one that if you send your dog, if the dog goes into the bushes during a walk, it will come out covered in cleavers because it cleaves, it sticks to your clothes, and it has these tiny little burrs. One amazing herb for the lymphatic system, and helps with swollen glands. Licorice root. This is again in the same pea family as alfalfa and clover, and all of these herbs in these particular herbs in the pea family are great for building and for energy. Great for the endocrine system. So if people are feeling a bit burnt out, licorice is the herb of choice. In many cases, rose hips, incredible antioxidant. You know, nowadays people think it's flash to get goji berries from the Himalayas and acai or acai from Brazil, but actually we've got our very own berries in this country which are very, very powerful antioxidants, and I'm always in favour of using what we have here. This is the shave grass or mare's tail, full of silica. Very, very powerful herb for building strong bones, strong tissues in the body, for recovery, and also for cleansing. Dandelion, one of my favourites. Slippery elm, that's actually a North American herb, slippery elm. It's a fantastic herb when people have a lot of wind or colicky type symptoms. Great for soothing the gut. Fantastic, used in conjunction with marshmallow as well, gut soother. Kelp, fantastic for supplementing iodine, very rich in silica as well, very building, very strengthening. Helps here with weight management, has a powerful effect on balancing the thyroid gland. Powerful herb. And psyllium, these are Coumartin plantain. You can see this one is a rotundifolia, which just fancy name means round leaf. And we have a lot of lanceolata psyllium here too, which is, it's like a lance shaped leaf. And this particular one we put into the absorber shake, which is made with the psyllium husks and hydrated bentonite clay. So this is what the husks look like when they've been taken off the plant. And we also use this as a powder. So the husks would be put into you could put it into a Vitamix and create a powder from it. It's the most amazing herb, psyllium, because it's a bowel regulator. So if you are constipated and you take small amounts of it with lots of water, and please remember to drink your water, which we prepared earlier, keep yourself hydrated. It also helps it with runny stools. In naturopathy, we're very interested in flow. So if the flow is too fast or too slow, we want to regulate it. And psyllium is one of these herbs, plantain, that we can use. This is our teacher Peter, who I credit, fantastic guy, mixing up the bentonite clay with a wooden item, because bentonite clay has electrical properties, and it needs to be mixed with wood or something which is non-conductible, so not with a metal spoon. This amazing substance can draw out and absorb 50 to 100 times its weight in toxins. So you can see that's like a super friend in this cleanse. This is the dry powder. You wouldn't want to use it as a dry powder because of the fact that it's so absorbent. You always need to mix it up with water, leave it overnight, and have it in that way. Bentonite is used in engineering. If you had a toxic waste dump, let's say next door to a fresh flowing river, you could create a bentonite wall, a clay wall, and what that would do is it would prevent the toxicity getting into the fresh flowing water. So it has many uses. Yeah, fantastic stuff. Please drink lots of water. This slide always pops up. So in between the shake, in between the herbs, in between the liver flush, in between all the different stages of the cleanse, you want to drink at least a glass of water, so that you know that you're creating that sump in the intestines with the bentonite and the psyllium, which can absorb the toxicity, take it out of your body safely, and then that avoids headaches, or it can diminish headaches. It can avoid liver toxicity symptoms such as sickness, because taking liver cleansing herbs, taking liver flush can make you feel queasy. Another thing which I want to talk about is the minerals here. These are very, very powerful blend of minerals. You might like to read us a couple of the ingredients here, if you've got your glasses on.
Bromine, cadmium, calcium, carbon, cerium, cesium, chloride, chromium, cobalt, copper, iodine, iridium, iron.
That's great, thanks.
Lithium.
Fantastic. So you get the idea. This reads like the periodic table, and a lot of people think, boy, that reads like a load of toxins. We're trying to avoid arsenic, antimony, and aluminium. We've been told not to use aluminium pans and this kind of thing. But this is a colloidal, organic colloidal mineral formula, which comes from, I call it fossilized plant juice. Stuart, the colloidal, can you explain to everyone?
Colloidal?
Yes.
I think that just means the particles of the minerals are so small they are suspended in a liquid.
That's right.
And also they're chelated, which means that they come from the plant.
Yes.
Which means it's available to the body. You can absorb it, as opposed to being inorganic sort of lumps of rock or something which the body can't absorb.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly that. So organic in this sense means from a plant source. It's a different meaning to being certified by the Soil Association or something like that in this country. Fantastic product that. So the liver flush, which we've already enjoyed this morning. Some other people enjoying it here. And the recipe for it you'll receive. So with 1 whole lemon, we mix 2 tablespoons or 50 ml of olive oil and add a clove of garlic, cube of ginger root, and we mix that with the cayenne pepper or fresh chili. Juice, which again, that forms part of the daily program. So what we're doing here is bringing everything together. We're showing you how the daily program works as a whole. This is one of our friends enjoying her green juice, and the main ingredients that we use are celery, cucumber and courgettes, because many people nowadays have thyroid problems, so we just tend to add in the cabbage family, the cruciferae, if people can take it. So often we do have greens from our garden, we have spinach from the garden today, which is nice, and these juices are very highly alkalizing, and they allow the cell to detoxify very quickly. So we've got many detoxifying elements. Just green juice on its own is very highly detoxifying. When you add wheatgrass to the green juice, that's being used on its own as a detox. So if you have green juice, wheatgrass, later you have liver flush, and you have minerals with it, and you then have coffee enemas, you are giving the body the opportunity to release a lot. And then you're also building up, because the green juice is high in chlorophyll, which matches the red blood cell pattern, and so the body is going, please give me more, because this is so good. So this is some of our homegrown wheatgrass. Enzymes on their own are also detoxifying. You might say, well, why do we need enzymes as well? It's because the enzymes, when we eat cooked food, are depleted. So this is one of the reasons why we see so many people with diabetic symptoms nowadays, because the pancreas is very stressed. When we eat a lot of cooked food, the pancreas has to secrete a lot of enzymes, and it's put under pressure. So this, taking the enzymes, takes the burden off the digestion and helps you to detoxify. It helps to break down the cell walls, and very importantly, when eating, we need to chew a lot. I remember when I did my first yoga course, they said to us, when you're eating, you need to chew each mouthful 50 times. I went away and tried that, and it's really very interesting. But if we think that 60% of carbohydrates are digested in the mouth, and a lot of British office workers, let's say, will go out and they'll have 10 minutes to swallow a sandwich, they're not actually allowing the body to digest in the way it needs to. We really need to sit and chew our food. So the enzymes help us to bridge the gap. It's not the best. It's not ideal not to chew. That will be the best solution. So the minerals we've already covered to a degree. And just to remind you that these are only found, these particular minerals, these ones, they only come from a range of plants. You can't get these minerals from a lump of calcium or a lump of sulfur or a lump of anything else. when you take these minerals, they start to help to detoxify the body. Most of the Western diseases that we see are created by toxicity and deficiency, and a combination of those two things. We have another company called Mother Earth's Minerals, which to help remineralize soil using volcanic basalt. Our soils have been depleted over many years during the war. Controversial subject, but obviously there was a lot of explosives used, and then pretty much the same formula as was used in the explosives was put onto soil, and this doesn't actually nourish the soil. It only gives it part of what it needs, and so a lot of the food that we have now, it might be organic, but it may not be mineralized. So there's a difference. So what we're interested in is having well mineralized food as well as organic source food. Stuart and I will testify that taking these minerals does yield green to black stinking faces for weeks or months, and I can believe it. I've been on a pretty much vegetarian whole food diet for 20 years, but I knew my health still wasn't good, so that's what got me into all of this. It was like, well, hey, I've got more work to do, I need to take some more responsibility here. Just popping a few homeopathic pills and eating healthily or eating what I thought was healthily isn't actually getting me to a place of good health. And when we started to take the minerals, we could see, couldn't we, what was coming out. In fact, interesting story, the first time I took the minerals, Stuart said to me, take a capful, and it was about this much probably in the cap, and I was immediately sick. Now, you might say a lot of people would draw the conclusion that those minerals are not good for me. Actually, the opposite is true, but I just needed less. That is an example of a healing crisis, an immediate healing crisis, because the minerals were so good and so rich that my body couldn't actually take them. So just because you have a bad effect from something doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad for you. What I've discovered over and over again working for people is that all we need to do is just diminish the amount, possibly even give people a homeopathic amount to start off with, because in my case my system was so depleted. It's a bit like somebody out in the desert. If they've been very, very dehydrated, you cannot come along and feed them a whole glass of water. You've just got to sponge drips into their mouth, and that's what I was like. And in fact, it's interesting because it shows what an incredible tolerance level our bodies have for depletion. We can still function even when we are very depleted. So that's probably enough for today, and we'll be serving you some other nice potions in the kitchen shortly.